Christine, how you doing? Lisa, hello. I'm back on my regular phone. Richard, how you doing? Richard's buying some silver. Lisa, hello. Good evening. Let everybody find us here. Give it another minute. Mike, how's it going? Looks like we got everybody coming in here now. Give it another couple of seconds here. We'll get started. China trade deal was announced. We'll see. A lot of jockeying going on around the world. People trying to position themselves, I think, for what they know is coming. Paula, how you doing? All right, let's go ahead and get started. Swampwatch. 12-12-19. Looks like the Conservatives won big in the UK today, which is good news for everyone. That means they're almost, they've been stalling this thing out for a year. More than that, really. I think they're finally to the end of their rope. When UK goes, the EU's done. And if everything goes good from here, they're out on January 31st. So that's not going to, I think that alone would collapse the economy. If it's not collapsed by then, and I just don't see how it's still going by then. But yeah, great news there that the Conservatives have taken a big margin. The Tories. So good news in the UK. China trade deal. So how many times have we heard this? I've been hearing we're close for weeks, months maybe. But I have to wonder, China, I don't know how motivated they are right now with the impeachment going on. Their whole game initially, I think, was to try and stall out to the 2020 election and hope that President Trump got beat. I don't know how any of their analysts could look at what's going on and think that, number one, that the impeachment's going to fly. Maybe they think and they might have bought into Pelosi's bullshit that, that she really is as powerful as a president. I I find that hard to believe coming from the Chinese. I think they're too. I think they're way too tuned in to how we operate politically to make that mistake, because President Trump's not going anywhere. Anyone who has a clue understands that. There's no path to get President Trump out of office. President Trump's not leaving office if they were to impeach him. It's not going to happen. The military will seize control of the government. President Trump's not going anywhere. If they one in a million, God forbid, somehow assassinated President Trump, Pence isn't going to take power. Pelosi's not going to take power. The military will take power until we can have another election to get a legitimate president seated. And that's just throwing it out there for discussion, because President Trump has the hand of God on him, guiding and protecting him. He's not going anywhere. They're not going to assassinate him. They're not going to remove him from office. It would be their worst nightmare for that to happen, because a lot of Americans would die if it went that route, and the majority of them would be liberals, because I maybe think they're going to rise up and get slaughtered, is where this would go. Because what are they going to do? They got the military. You got 100 million pissed off American citizens. Who's going to take us on? No army in the world would take us on, let alone a ragtag bunch of BLM and Antifa thugs. Those are the kind of people that cut and run when it gets serious. They can beat up old men and kids in the streets when there's 20 of them and a couple conservatives, but if it's anything close to equal, they're finished, and they would be completely outgunned, outmanned. It would be the slaughter. Oh God, it would make the Civil War if it happened. And it's not going to happen, guys. I just don't see any scenario that could get us to that point. Just don't see it. So basically, it's theatrics from the Democrats until we shut this impeachment down. It's not going to last long. It's going to be a week in the Senate at most, and the majority of that time is going to be spent a day or two setting up the rules, and I think they're going to call for a vote, and it's over. This could last 3 days, 2 if we're lucky. I mean, that's after it gets out of the House, which is supposed to happen. I don't know. They take the vote today or tomorrow. I don't know. We'll see. It doesn't make any difference. Nothing's coming of this, except for, And the trade deal with China, it's really irrelevant. I actually think they could be working the system here. the, the, the president, for sure, in trying to keep the market propped up with this, these rumors of a deal. Nothing signed. It doesn't sound like there's any confirmations from the Chinese, and the White House wouldn't comment this afternoon. So, and the stock market sets record high. I think President Trump is working the system. We'll see. It doesn't make any difference whether we get a deal with China or not, because the deal would, for the most part, I think, have to go to the back burner, because when this economy goes, I think everything changes anyway. So, again, I think it's a really good tool right now for President Trump to fan the flames, and keep the stock market propped up. But I think for all practical purposes, it's really irrelevant. And you got more Democrats bailing. They say now as many as 6 Democrats won't even vote for it in the House. So Pelosi is just in a panic mode. This whole thing is blowing up. She said initially, her and Schiff both said it had to be bipartisan. In other words, both parties had to agree that it was necessary or needed. Not only couldn't they get any support on the Republican side, they've got Democrats abandoning ship. It's a circus. It's a joke. It's an embarrassment to the Democrats. Let's see. Jobless claims shot up unexpectedly. They were expecting 214,000, 252,000. Far above what they expected, and getting it into the same ballpark as bad as it was in 2009, which is like the worst. Not good. And then I want to talk about a couple of things that are, I think, pretty key to what's happening right now. Because when you look at this, they're talking about, this investigation with the FISA. And they're talking about the Steele dossier. That's not the biggest scam of this process. The biggest scam is the universal acceptance, at least publicly, from both parties that the Russians hacked our election. It's not the case. And I've got a hard time with this, because this is something that there's no question about. It is a fact. The Russians did not hack the DNC. It is physically impossible that the Russians hacked the DNC. This is confirmed by probably the foremost authority on hacking and cybercrime, Bill Benny, who was at the top of the NSA before he became a whistleblower, to speak out about their illegal activities in, surveilling Americans. And so here's the facts of the DNC leak. I'm by no means a computer expert, but I think I have enough here to make this pretty clear. So in a hack, basically what happens is a player, could be across the street, could be across the world, gets into a system through the internet, and then downloads data off of, in this case, the DNC server. The problem is that in that data that is stolen, hacked, whatever, taken off the DNC server, there's metadata on that. And what that will tell you is, one thing it'll tell you is how long it took to download whatever material you got. It'll tell you how long it took. It always takes longer, multiples longer, to do a hack rather than, say, a download, on-site download, say, to a thumb drive. That's what happened. The DNC wasn't hacked. This was a leak by Seth Rich. Seth Rich downloaded all this material to a thumb drive. It took a fraction of the time that it would have taken to hack. So right off the bat, it's a scientific fact. You can't argue this, but nobody's talking about it. If this came out, it would shut the whole thing down. They got nothing. But everybody's moving forward, and oh yeah, it's the Russians. The Russians did it. For the life of me, I don't understand. And I think initially the reason was the president didn't want him to know this. The president wanted him to think that it was a hack, because if that lie goes down the drain, we're moved up 2 years. And he didn't want that. He wanted to, because remember, and I made a post about this, when President Trump took office, there were more globalists in our government than there were patriots. And he knew it. They wanted to buy time and maybe let these guys think that they had the president on his heels so that they could stall this thing out to make all the moves they needed, because they needed to strengthen the military. They needed to get the border fixed. There was a lot of stuff they had to do. Get all the judges in place. He knew it was going to take a couple of years to do all this stuff. So I think they just allowed it to continue. And maybe at this point, they don't see any upside because they still kind of want to stall this thing out. I think, well, there's a theory that he would have liked to have gotten into the 2020 election. We all know that's not going to happen. If he could get it there, the deep state won't allow it to happen. They will not allow President Trump to go into the 2020 election with the economy the way it is, because they know they got zero chance. And if they can't impeach him, the only piece of ammo they have left is to take down the economy, which they could do in a matter of a week or less. So when you hear these conversations, make sure you let people know that it's a scam. It's eventually all going to come out. I mean, if you can go on YouTube right now and just search Bill Benny, DNC hack. He's done several interviews on this, but nobody's listening. And he's been doing them. Well, since the beginning or right after, he knew right away as soon as he looked at this stuff. I think within a week after he got all the data, no way. And it wasn't just him looking at it. And this is, anybody who knows computers, I guess, understands this. But that's what it is. Couldn't have been. Zero possibility. This was a Russian deal. This was an inside job, and Seth Rich did it because he was a Bernie supporter. And he thought he was working for a fair and just system. Best man's going to win, right? Well, then he saw how it really was, and it really infuriated him. And that's why he did what he did, and they killed him because of it. They killed him to send a message to anybody else working in the organization. This is what happens if you turn against us. Okay. And then all of this sanctimonious bullshit about the Russian interference and blah, 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 which is total bullshit, coming from us, the United States. There is no bigger offender of interfering in foreign election than the United States. You look at the last 100 years, there's no country that comes close to the shit that we pulled around the world. And I say we, it's our deep state, it's the criminals that we want out, but they're doing it under our name. We're hated around the world because of the CIA and the deep state. We need to expose these assholes for who they are and what they've done to the world. And we have to take some responsibility for it because they did it on our watch. But, it made me sick. I realized this stuff when I was a kid. There's things that didn't jive with what I learned about our country, about the Constitution, about the rule of law, about how we, are opposed to these very things. And then we're pulling this crap all around the world. And Obama against Israel. And it was out in the open. We spent U.S. tax dollars sending people over to Israel to work against Netanyahu, to oppose him, run ads. We had people on the streets over there actively trying to defeat the Israeli prime minister. And then we whine and cry because we say, when we blame Russia, who had nothing to do with it. It's arrogant. And when you see the people that are, and here's the other thing. The people that are screaming the loudest about the Russian interference are the ones that are really interfering around the world. It's that projection, right? Accuse everybody else of what you're doing. And it's their MO. It goes back to Saul Alinsky's and the Rules for Radicals and their game plan for how they get a socialist system in place. That's part of the deal. The Obama administration, you can go read that manifesto, and there's a list, 12 or 15 key points. And the Obama administration followed that. You can check them off, every single one of them, what the Obama administration did. And that's why here we are today. And we have politicians in the United States, they're actively running as socialists. They may want to call it something else, but when you look at what they're proposing, it's radical. So, it's crazy, never going to happen here. And I don't think we would have seen this except for they are such under a crunch for time. They know it has to get done now because this is their last shot. If they don't get this done, I mean, because I think they know that they're not going to win the 2020 election. They've got to get President Trump out. They've got to get enough people in to help to make that happen, or their game is over. And their game is over because none of the things they're trying to do, they got no traction. Look at how they fumbled through this impeachment thing. They're starting to see the uprising, the upwelling of rage of Americans that are fed up with this crap, that have had enough, and they are creating the perfect storm for their own demise because we have just scratched the surface here. The Pfizer report, Horowitz, this is just scratching the surface. When the American people find out the real truth about the depth of the treason and the satanic pedophilia in our government, they're going to want to hunt these people down and hang them, just like Bush 41 said. Bush 41 said about 20 years ago, if these people ever find out what we've been doing, they'll chase us down and lynch us. Paraphrasing, but that's exactly what he said about 20 years ago. One of the biggest monsters. I mean, when you lay out everything he was responsible for from his time from the Second World, before the Second World War, I believe, up through his presidency and his sons, well, till he died. He was the main man running the show for the globalists in America. And probably most of the world, or at least this part of the world. One of the I mean, who knows how many children he's murdered. Some of the stories you're going to hear about this guy will disgust you. Horrific stuff. From and it's just not him. I mean, just that Hillary video will make you sick to your stomach. But just think about that. Think about what we know right now, just with what we got from Horowitz, which was devastating. No matter what the mainstream wanted to say, the Horowitz report was devastating when you considered his, all of the mainstream media's knock on the report were things he couldn't report on. Oh, there was no arrest. Well, that's not his job. The arrests are coming, though. His job is to make recommendations. He made a lot of recommendations. These people are going to be prosecuted. Every single one of them has been turned over. They're going down. Everybody involved with the FISA is going down, I think, for treason. Anybody they have evidence of treason is going to be tried and executed for treason. Not one of them is going to escape. They want to make sure that the world understands that this is never going to happen again. And if you want to go down this road, this is what you're going to face. The wrath of every government in the world, because when this is over, all of these globalists, and you're seeing it happen around the world right now. Look, the world is burning, and it's burning because the people are pissed off, and they're not going to take it anymore. I mean, 15, 18 countries around the world right now. And it's growing. The movement is growing. And just wait until Obama and Clinton get arrested. And then, down the line. And then the Pope. And then the royal family. What do you think that's going to do around the world? It's going to embolden these people. Just wait to see what happens in China when the Clintons go down and Obama goes down. Like I said, 10 years max for China before they're a democracy, or hopefully a constitutional republic. And that's another scam the Democrats try and run. We do not have a democracy. We have a constitutional republic, and it's important that you understand the difference. Because in a democracy, it's basically majority rules. That's a democracy. So if you're a part of the 51 against the 49, you could institute Sharia law. And that's legal in a democracy. In a constitutional republic, you have the vote, but anything you vote on has to fall within the guidelines of the Constitution. So you can't, it's like, and trust me, you're going to see, there have been hundreds of unconstitutional laws that have been passed in the last 20 years that are all going to get thrown out here in the next couple of years, especially the Second Amendment violations. All of this crap with Google and Twitter and Facebook with the censorship, that'll all be gone before the 2020 election. Probably before, I don't think they'll get to the end of January. The president, he's not going to let him get away with it. It's one step at a time, but trust me, all of the abuses of the Constitution, all of the abuses of Agenda 21 and Agenda 2030 are going to be wiped out. All of the infiltration into our local governments, all of this sustainable crap that they push on us to control us, the whole global warming, climate change hoax, all of that goes. All of the abuses of the judicial system and Big Pharma are going. All of these monstrosities in our government, like the Department of Education, there's 50, 70% of government employees are going. We don't need them. The states should be running their own business within the guidelines of the Constitution. We don't need a Department of Education. And I believe within 5 years, there won't be any more schools. There won't be any more teachers. Everything's going to be on the internet. We're going to have 100% internet public education system that'll be the premium of the world. And it changes things overnight because they have purposely dumbed our kids down. Look at where we rate compared to the rest of the world. We used to be at the top. It's embarrassing how far we've dropped. I don't think we're in the top 10 anymore. We might not make the top 20. And it's not an accident. It's been done on purpose. They had to make us dumber so they could do whatever they wanted. An uneducated public is what a tyrannical government wants because they can pretty much do whatever they want. As long as they do it bit by bit, don't take too much. And look at over 200 years what they've done. We're not a free country anymore. Once we drain this swamp, we're a free country again. And everything changes. The world is changed forever when the swamp drains, for the better. Heaven on earth, man's greatest age, greatest transfer of wealth in human history. It's all good, guys. Okay, let me see. Okay, I think that's everything. Let's see what we got for questions. Okay. Bubba, how you doing? Lupe, how you doing? Lupe is correct. Trump is a fighter, and everything changed when we elected President Trump, and he's on it. He's taking these guys down. Danielle, how you doing? No problem. Yeah, no detention. We run a pretty loose ship here. Yeah, um, the biggest mistake the globalists made. So basically, in this system, in this world system we have right now, this globalist system, um, the Vatican was set up as the religious head. London was set up as a financial head, and Washington, D.C. was set up as the muscle, the military head. They were so arrogant, they let us have the power, the military power. They thought they were good, they had enough strings here to control it. Guess what? You screwed up. Now you may have some money left. You may have the Pope. We got the guns. Now what are you going to do? Not much. Because now that the military and the people are on the same page, you're screwed. There's not a goddamn thing these people can do without getting annihilated. Because anything they try, like people keep saying, oh, China's going to invade, or Russia's going to invade, or the UN's going to invade, North Korea, blah, 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 blah. Only if they want to get slaughtered. Nobody's coming to our shores. Biggest massacre the world's ever seen. Like the Japanese said, you invade America, you will find a gun behind every blade of grass, and that's exactly what they'd find. Not going to happen. It's over. They're screwed. It's just a matter of time, and their time's running out. There's going to be big changes in the next couple of months, and I'll guarantee you, by the end of 2020, this time next year, satanic pedophilia will be, I think, eradicated from the world, and the globalist agenda will be eradicated from the world. Hundreds are going to be executed. Hundreds are going to be executed out of our government alone. Might be thousands. There's going to be a lot of people that are executed for treason and pedophilia, child murder. We know what they do. They're torturing and murdering kids for the adrenochrome. Google it. This shit is going to end. Well, they're not going after Biden. Are you talking about the Danielle's asking why they aren't going against publicly going after Biden? I assume you're talking about the Republicans. Well, we know the mainstream media is not going to go after him because the CIA owns the mainstream media, and basically Biden works for the CIA or the deep state or the globalists. It's all the same deal. Here's what I think. If you'll notice, we've talked about Lindsey Graham and him being compromised. You'll notice he didn't want to call any witnesses. He wants to get it through. We don't want to call Biden. We don't want to call his kid. We just want to take a vote, get it over with. I think the reason he doesn't want Biden to testify is because I think he's going to get caught up in the Ukrainian scandal. I think he was probably getting money out of their money laundering scheme there. There's billions of dollars missing in aid to the Ukraine. So, and the word is that it was a money laundering deal. What they've been doing the whole time of the Obama administration, and probably before that, all of this foreign aid was a scam. A scam. We're going to give you $1 billion. You kick back half of it, or whatever their deal was, right? That's what they've been doing. That's what's going to be exposed in the Ukraine. And now they've got a president and a prosecutor over there that are on the same page. Soros is over there right now pissing his pants trying to clean up the mess because he's going down there too. One of the things that they said, the U.S. government told Ukraine, stay away from Soros, stay away from Biden. And Burisma. What a scam. And it's all going to come out. So I think that's what it is. I think it's mainly a push for the people. Because remember, there's going to be a lot of Republicans that go down in this thing. More Democrats, but many more Republicans than you would think, including Bush 43, including basically his whole administration. Everybody involved in 9/11 is going down. They're going to clean house, guys. 2020, going to be huge. Going to be huge. Joan, how you doing? Kevin, how you doing? Supposedly, the bracelets, they're calling cyanide bracelets. Supposedly, those are the ends, I think, of ammunition, of the cartridge. I think they're cut off the end, and then they make bracelets out of them. It's supposed to be, about them coming for our guns. I think that's supposedly, at least their story. Yeah, I don't believe it's true. Was that it? Is that all the questions? Did you get through that already? Oh, wait a minute. Calling in the national. Oh, shit. Yeah. Good luck with that, Virginia. It's not going to happen. Virginia calling in the National Guard. Yeah. The I think if the governor tried that, they'd arrest him immediately. I don't see it happening. I mean, what's he going to do? It's You're violating the Constitution and you want to call in the National Guard to cover your illegal act. I don't think it's going to fly. I nothing to worry about, guys. Michael, how you doing? David, what's up? Linda, hello. Let's see. Okay, I guess. Let me see. That looks like all the questions, guys. Just want to make sure I didn't miss anything here. Okay, that's it, guys. Okay, there's a lot coming down with the economy between now and the first week in January. Um, I don't know if you got. I mean, it's like there is something building here on both sides. I think everybody sees that this is all coming to a head, and I think over the next few weeks, there's going to be a lot of stuff, a lot more stuff coming out. Not like there. I mean, there's something. Oh, I'm glad I thought about this because just it's hard for me to keep up with this stuff. I mean, I am literally 16 hours a day plus. I mean, I basically wake up about 4 in the morning, and I'm pretty much every waking hour. I watch a couple hours of TV and just to kind of take a break and go to the gym an hour, and pretty much the rest of the time I'm doing research. And not now. It's hard to keep up with everything, putting that many hours in. So the one thing that would really help me is having a couple of more people volunteering. Somebody that's what I really need right now is somebody that's really computer savvy that can help us because we're getting way behind on our uploads to the website. And I'm really worried right now that with everything going on, and I think this is a short term thing for the next month, 6 weeks, but I think there's going to be a lot come down about the censorship, hopefully pretty soon. But until that happens, um, you know, they could cut us off at, and we already know that they're shadow banning us. They're making it hard for people to find us. They've cut way back the views we were getting. I mean, this thing was going through the roof. We started, small, and within 3 or 4 months, I think, we were up to where one point we were getting, one day we had 3,500 views. And there was not uncommon to get, we were getting over 1,000 on most of them. And then all of a sudden, the shadow banning started, and we're getting to maybe 150 now. The point is to keep getting the word out, and to have a platform that we can go to if we do get shut down, which is going to be the website, which everybody should have. We need to keep that up to date, and we're way behind. So I need some people that can help uploading videos from Facebook to the website. So anybody that has some extra time, doesn't have to be every day. It could be one day a week, but some time that they could devote to doing this, it would really help. It's the biggest help I need right now is that computer help, because I just don't have time to do it, guys. I mean, I'm burnt out as it is. So I really need somebody to jump in here and somebody that has the time, and really it's something you got to want to do, because I mean, this whole thing, if you're not devoted to it, it's not going to take, right? And I guess my problem is I see this differently. than most other people. I basically spend every waking moment working on this because I understand how important this is. We're going through the most critical time in human history. And this is an exaggeration, guys. This 10 years from 4 years ago, the next 6, this 10 years will be analyzed for thousands of years. Thousands of books are going to be written on this time. Hundreds of movies are going to be made on this 10-year period. The most important 10-year period by far in human history. There is no more important thing we can be doing than focusing on this right now, because compared to everything else in the world, it's insignificant. Because we're setting the stage for the next 1,000 years of humanity. Right now, that's what we're doing. You guys got to see that. Everything else is really meaningless. You're basically buying time until we find out where this is going, because everything I cannot stress enough. People think like, oh, it's going to be like 08, 09, or it's going to be like Nixon being impeached or resigning. Stack everything you think was of importance over the last 10,000 years and put it in a pile, and it doesn't hold a candle to what's happening now, right now. The things that are happening right now. Because when you look at this from above, and you look and you see the mismatch between where the globalist satanic pedophiles were, the power they held when President Trump was elected, compared to what we had, we should never, this should already be over. The power, look at the financial backing. When you again, their assets versus our assets, this is the biggest upset in human history. This is the greatest accomplishment. This is man's greatest accomplishment, is defeating this evil, changing the world. They have been in control since Babylon. We've never been free. For the first time, when the swamp drains, mankind is truly free. Think about that. And how could you be focused on anything else? Because, I loved rodeo. I rodeoed for almost 40 years. Loved it. It's meaningless to me anymore. What used to be such a huge part of my life is like this now. And that's a proper perspective. Because whatever it is in your life that you think is important, when you compare it to what we're doing right now, it's a pebble. It's a grain of sand compared to what we're doing, to what is happening right now. So, it boils down to, do you want to be a lion or a lamb? Do you want to be a player in this game, or do you want to sit on the sidelines? I'm I've never been a sideline guy. Um, and knowing what I know now, like I said, guys, I'm in this to the end. Um, I shouldn't be doing this medically. I shouldn't be doing this. My blood pressure. This isn't good for my blood pressure. It doesn't make any difference. I'm not stopping. Nothing is going to stop me except God from seeing this through. You know, I'm here till the end, whatever that is. You know, um, and I think, thankfully, we've got people here who feel the same way, and that's important right now because we are changing lives every day. We're not really seeing the impact of it today, but in 5 years, the impact is going to be epic. Thousands of people's lives have been changed by what we've been doing the last 5 years. Why would you want to do anything differently? You'll never do anything in your life as important as what you are doing right now. I mean, I used to think what I was doing was important, that meant something. But in the big scheme of things, I was just another rodeo cowboy, you know. And I'm proud of the things I've done, but when you look at what that compared to this, doesn't hold a candle to it. I mean, and it goes anything, any sport, anything you can think of that you may be involved in. And then I'm talking outside your family and everybody's got to work, everybody's got to earn a living right now. But the things that you do in your spare time, think about those things compared to what we're going through and the impact we're having on people's lives. Don't minimize the impact we're having. This is life-changing. We're changing families' lives by the things we're doing and getting them prepared. And who knows how many lives we're saving. We'll know that as we see how bad this thing gets. And we still don't know that yet. I'm still saying, I think we're going to get through this pretty clean with President Trump. But trust me, probably millions around the world aren't going to make it through this, aren't going to make it through what's coming. And mostly it's because the governments that are in charge of their systems are globalists. And there's the last place you want to be going through what we're going to be facing over the next couple of years is in a globalist country because they don't give a shit about their people. They just assume. I mean, that's the end game anyway. Let us all die. You think they're going to do anything to help their people? To get set up? No, they're going to go into their bunkers and let us fend for ourselves. President Trump isn't going to do that. President Trump, I can guarantee you, has a plan in place. The question is, how good is a plan? Is it good enough to take care of all of us? And remember, that's a pretty big challenge. 320 million Americans. I'm guessing we're lucky if we've got 30% ready. That's a lot of people to take care of. If we've got 200 million to feed, if this thing goes worst case scenario, that's a when the we have the crop destruction this winter. Um, that's a big deal because it's not just having the food; it's transporting the food too. You got to get it around the country. So it's a pretty tough job, and thank God we've got President Trump. Um, think about these things. Think about how important it is what we're doing. Think about that as you're talking to your friends, your neighbors, your relatives. And I can't stress enough how positive the message has to be because these are these are scary topics for most people. When you talk about the swamp draining and the worldwide economy collapsing, forget about the satanic pedophilia. That puts most of them over the edge. You want to kind of temper that satanic pedophilia because that can set the cognitive dissonance off right away. It's best to kind of bring them along slowly, but the problem is you don't have a lot of time. So you kind of have to use your own judgment depending on who you're talking to and what their situations are. If you have friends in a big city, a big liberal city, I would probably be talking to them the hardest because they're the ones in the biggest danger. Because if it goes south, those are the places that are going to be devastating. If the power goes out, there's no water running, just the sanitation issues could kill millions of people. They're not going to be able to pick up, garbage won't be picked up. It's just a bad, again, it's that perfect storm. So, be positive. Use this time wisely because we're running out of time, guys. And every day, the beautiful thing is, every day that we have until then, we have a chance to get through to more people. I am several people a day I'm helping get set up with their Litecoin and their silver. So it's working. It's getting easier. We got to keep pushing. I'm going to leave it there for tonight, guys. Remember, fear not. God and President Trump are 1,000% in control. We'll see you tomorrow night at 5. God bless.